Hey guys, so Khalil has now been sentenced to 12 years in prison. The whole court proceedings are all over. He took a plea deal and admitted guilt to a couple charges, and that's all done. So there's been some recordings that I've sat on and I have not released, and I'm gonna release some of them now that everything's over. So this is one of the only times that Chloe talked to us, who is Khalil's Islamic wife or new wife, whatever you want to call it. And she talked to us about a lot of stuff. And quite frankly, it's one of the craziest interviews I've ever done. So it's interesting to listen back to it now that we know how everything turned out. But this was back in May of 2022 that this happened. Also, the victim's mother is still technically married to Khalil. She wrote a Facebook post that was pretty long and was very compelling. And she had a GoFundMe from a year or so ago. It's still up, and I asked for the link, and she expressed that these types of things are pretty financially draining and whatnot. But I felt like, if anything, she should at least get some money to divorce Khalil officially. If anything, if you want to support that, or you want to support her, then I'm going to put the link in the description and you can do that. So, with that being said, here's the video.
I'm surprised you guys are letting me on stage.
Why?
Because most of you hate my husband.
I think most people.
Last night we heard people laughing about it, like it's something that's funny.
Most people like you, though.
Yeah, that's probably true. No, I'm not gonna plug it here. Because I know that there's so many people who have a great disdain, and I also know that his ex is actively trying to assassinate his character, which was the entire premise of the charges. They're entirely unfounded. The charges are far less than the original claim.
Yeah, but
because
how
they
do you know
literally
they're unfounded?
Hold on a sec. Don't. First of all,
I'm not
anyone
answering
in.
that question.
Yeah. See, look. Let her speak her piece. Don't be aggressive. And that's that. If you are, I will just fucking boot you in a heartbeat. I don't give a fuck who you are.
Yeah, I didn't come here to debate it. And quite frankly, people are going to believe what people choose to believe. But from where I'm sitting, which is a front row seat, and having 4 children of my own that are in the home, I by no means would have allowed any harm to come to my children. So I knew, and I chose, and I have no regrets. He's an excellent father. The problem is that she doesn't want their son raised in our faith, which, when the child was born, they agreed upon it, and now they don't. I can see why that would be frustrating or disappointing. But to go to such measures to keep a child from their parent is heinous. And the truth will come out. That's the whole purpose of the judicial system, right? So, I understand that there's people who will hate my husband and who will think that this is funny. I personally don't think that having to pay $15,000 to defend someone's innocence is funny. And that's without interest, by the way, to pay it back. But, it's, again, you guys are going to think what you want to think, and there's nothing I can do about that. But the fact of the matter is, as atheists, I would hope that you would be consistent in remaining just as skeptical of a claim that has no substantiation as of yet, and not legally, not in any system. Literally, testimony is enough to press charges, by the way.
Is that all that exists, to your knowledge?
Yes, that is all that exists. They investigated for over 6 months and didn't find jack shit, which is why the charges are less. They did all the rape kits.
Wait,
Nothing. Like, so, I
they did
mean,
rape kits on a
they did the original claims I said were worse than the charges. So,
Can you tell us what those were?
no. Um,
Well, it sounds like
they were
rape,
just,
right?
yeah, it was exponentially worse than what was written on the indictment, which his ex-wife is spreading around. I would just appreciate that if you feel the need to spread those things, that you would crop out my home address off of the one screenshot, as a protection for my own kids. You don't have to like me, none of that, but my kids are just kids. So if you don't mind cropping out my address, I would appreciate it. If you do feel the need to share the screenshot of the website, um, and that's as a safety measure for my kids,
Yeah,
not a favor to my husband.
if I see it, yeah, I can try and crop it out. Or sorry,
I
remove it
appreciate
or ask
that.
them to crop it out.
Yeah, at least just I mean, keep the rest of it if you feel the need to spread it and, continue with throwing my husband's name through the mud. Like, I get that. It is what it is, but like, it, help me leave my kids out of it. Um, like, I mean, I guess people got his phone number. Like, come on, guys. Like, we're real people too. And I would hope that if such a heinous charge was brought against anybody else in order to assassinate their character, that you would remain as skeptical of this for my husband as you would for one of your own. That's all I would ask. And I know I don't really have a place to ask anything. Um,
What's going on with Justin now? Currently,
we are just people. Currently, as of right now, what we are doing is following his legal aid's advice.
does he have a lawyer?
That's what once I get that 15K, bro, the lawyer will be
Girl, hey, be
signed
careful
on
who you're
to.
talking to, Chloe.
Listen. But no, like the lawyer hasn't been officially retained. Hopefully by noon tomorrow that will be taken care of. The GoFundMe is to help offset the cost of the loan that we have to take out to do that.
Is he gonna surrender?
No, because he didn't fucking do it. What do you mean? Well, wait. What do you mean surrender? What do you mean?
You mean
surrender?
a,
It means
Clarify that.
it means
to
that
the
there's
arrest.
currently a warrant out for him. Is he going to go to the police station and say, I'm turning myself in because there's a warrant for my arrest?
Sure. So that's not something I can speak on. I'll just reiterate that he is actively following the direct advice of his legal aid.
Direct advice of his legal aid. Okay. Is that some person he talked to on Clubhouse? Nilesh?
No, that's the same woman that we're working to retain, who has been his lawyer through the entire process. But since this is an added thing that wasn't a part of the original retainment, we now have to retain her further for further services.
Okay.
Like that's the first thing. That's the first person we went to when. Actually, she's the one who let us know, and she's the one whose advice we're following. She's in direct contact with the prosecutors, so we're just following her advice.
Have you been in any contact with the ex-wife?
Absolutely not.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just asking. Don't take it the wrong way. All the information that you know is from Khalil.
Which information are you speaking of? In regards to his character, in regards to his
In regards to the
response?
allegations.
I mean, obviously, I have the indictment that everybody else has. I have not met her personally. I really hope that I never have to. It is not only him that has explained the character of this woman to myself, but it is also other individuals who have had direct interaction with her. Um, I'm, you know,
I mean, look, you might not
here's
even
the
be
thing.
look, you might not even be able to talk to her. Maybe you don't want to talk to her, right? That's all fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to make it I just don't know what the situation is. I'm interested in kind of getting like where we're at even here. So I'm just wondering if it sounds like you've definitely heard one side of the story. That's the Khalil side. Have you heard another side of the story? From
I'm
any
sure I
from a
will. I'm sure
directly
I will in all of the court hearings. I'm sure I will. Currently, there is not a legal possible way for me to interact with her or this child, so I don't have the opportunity. Um, what I do know is that the child making the claims has been mentally unstable for longer than he was involved in her life. She has been seeing 3 different therapists every month, and as mandated reporters, if the original claim of continuous abuse over multiple years' time was in fact occurring, they either failed to do their job and they're shitty at it, or they directly disobeyed the law and didn't report it. Let's see, what else? Oh, his
Was it?
ex-wife was also impeached on the stand during a protection order hearing where she literally waffled her story several times, and we have transcript and audio recording of that as well.
Yeah, but none of that would be admissible to this case, right? I mean, just because they lied previously.
Oh, sure it is. Sure it is. Sure it is. It speaks to the character and the reliability of the witness. Absolutely, it's admissible.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I'll just stay agnostic on that. I'll take your word for it. But just to be clear, I know you said that because of the legal actions that are in motion right now, you don't have access to her. You don't have access to the child, right? But just to be clear, I just look. I'm here. I want to.
Listen, Tom. If I think I know what you're getting at, and I'll just say this: I always make it a point to believe victims. Okay. The question in this case is who is the actual victim.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. No, that's not where I was going. But just before all these legal actions have started, before these wheels were in motion, did you ever talk to ex-wife or
I did
child?
not have the opportunity to do so. Those legal actions were already in motion prior to my meeting Khalil.
The allegations were in motion?
Huh. So
Yes.
hold on a sec. You're saying that when you met Khalil,
I knew. Yes, I knew about the allegations.
He told you?
Yes. He directly told me before we got married.
And don't take this the wrong way or anything. I'm just trying to get the timeline here. After you first met him, you knew about the allegations, and you got married like a week later.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I don't have anything else to say about that. So that I understand now why you didn't have access to get this information firsthand from either the ex-wife or the child. That makes sense now because the legal proceedings.
I mean, her Facebook is open. I can see her Facebook. I mean, I've screenshot several posts where she makes Khalil out to be a buffoon, really, during their marriage even. Okay. And I mean, I have access to seeing whatever posts she has that are public. And I've already gone through her Facebook and screenshot it. So if you want to tell her, you know, that I've done it, I mean, replays are on, so feel free.
Nobody knows who she is.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know. You have to you have to ask John Lee for that because he knows everybody's name.
But listen, isn't that interesting though? Because I just feel like if my child were to go under something so heinous, if that were true, right? If my child were to undergo something so heinous, would I weaponize my child's trauma in order to defame someone's character.
Well, I mean, it sounds like she went to the authorities, right?
Wait,
if your child was assaulted, you would go to the cops, right?
Wait, hold on a second. Weaponize the child's trauma. What do you mean? Is that under the assumption that the trauma? Well, sorry.
So
the sexual assault did not. Hold on a second. This is important. Right. This is important. Just let me finish. Are you saying that weaponize the trauma in the sense that the sexual assault never actually occurred, and then they're submitted to the trauma, as in rape kits, cops involved, psychiatrists, and being questioned constantly. This all those are trauma, but in the case of there wasn't actually a sexual trauma, is that what you're talking about?
Well, in either case, honestly. So let's operate in the assumption that it's true. Would I want my child to be publicly, like a very intimate thing, be publicly broadcasted? One,
under the sharing the info to people,
right?
Versus going to cops. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
right. And then under the other assumption, which was what Tom was talking about, let's say it's not true, which is what I believe. Then yes, the trauma of having to go through the judicial system, having to be coached by your parent, having to undergo as a young woman rape kits for something that didn't even happen, and for what purpose? Again, I'm in the business of believing victims, but there's literally no substantiation, as far as we know, as far as discovery goes, to any of the claims, which is why they are lesser claims.
Did they share with you the actual specifics of the allegations?
Yeah, but
I've seen the indictment sheet that y'all have running around, so
that's all you've got to. Yeah, I just wondered if there was like a more detailed complaint.
Well, obviously she has access to the indictment kit, and she has access to the Khalil version, whatever that be, whether that be true or not.
So the one that you guys have that says filed whatever county, we have received no such paper. The only reason we knew about it was because a lawyer contacted us. It was not, we have not received any official paperwork. So the only other person who could have received that official paperwork is her. And so then we know that she's the one who's actively bringing this information to everyone. And for what purpose? For what purpose? Defamation of character.
Well, that's the theory, because
think reasonably. What is most reasonable to believe about why a woman would allow?
No. I'm agreeing with you, but there's hold on a second. There's just one nuance here, because it's not defamation if it's true. Okay. So if she's lying, then yes, I agree with you. It's defamation of character, and that seems like the clear motivation for it. Okay.
But the problem is that it hasn't been proven from a judicial standpoint one way or the other. So until it is, and the way that this country operates, which is innocent until proven guilty, it is at this point defamation of character.
No, because she presumably has like access to like actual ongoing things that we don't, right? For example, if somebody in this room, I don't even want to get this fixed. Say girl X is raped, and then she says, Bill, this guy here, he raped me. That's not defamation of character, because they haven't gone to court yet and he hasn't been found guilty. That's not what it is. That's not how it works.
Okay, that's fine. I'll submit to that. But it still stands that what would be the purpose for someone to actively spread public information around like that? What would be the actual purpose?
Well,
it wouldn't be protecting the child.
I'll tell you why. She wants Khalil to get fucked. Okay? Now that could be justified because he did something heinous, and it could be unjustified. We don't know yet. Okay? We don't know yet. But can I ask you another question? Because the document says something about like April 8th to there's a time frame, right?
It says August 1st to November 4th. And it's already a misrepresentation because the CPO was put into effect November the 1st. So it's already negated.
Well,
because there was a CPO in order on November 1st.
What's negated? I'm under the understanding.
It's the first untruth, right? That we can visibly see with our own eyes, empirically. That
Okay, I'm
this
not
claim is being
Can I just
alleged.
look? Hang on a second, Chloe. I'm under the impression that when they say August 1st to whatever November, they're saying that the events in question that are illegal happened during that time frame. Is that your understanding?
Sure. But
Okay.
why would they
So
extend it past when we know for a fact that he legally and in practice had no access to said person?
because there's a protection order doesn't mean that they never were in contact necessarily, but that's neither here nor there. So unless here's why I'm bringing this up. Unless there was one prolonged sexual encounter between them that lasted from August to November, the implication seems to be that it's a series of sexual encounters, right?
I'm not quite sure. It was 4 a.m. when I finally read the indictment last night.
Okay, well, I'm of the opinion that they weren't having an illicit sexual encounter for the entire month of August, September, and
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Got it.
okay, so seems to be what the order is saying is that there was multiple instances that happened within a specified time frame. Okay, now you were talking about rape kits, or is there one or multiple rape kits that were done?
I will absolutely answer that question when the replays get turned off.
Okay,
I can do it.
done. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, to my knowledge, I do know that there was one done. I don't know the specifics of that. It was done immediately. The feeling of ourselves and our lawyer is that if there was any claim to be substantiated off of that, this would have happened months ago, right?
All right, so you don't have a complete and official results from the rape kit lab test. Are you in the dark about any kind of results, positive or negative? Hello?
Sorry. I mean, no, we haven't had the official results because the motion for discovery has not yet been made.
Okay, where do you think
It is the assumption of ourselves and our lawyer that should they have found something of substantial evidence, and a warrant would have been issued much sooner.
Okay, did you find out something? Because it took you a long time to answer that question. I'm just wondering maybe if there is some info.
No, my kids were asking me something.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Gotcha. Okay, so you did a rape kit, possibly multiple rape kits, right?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that question.
So
I think that wouldn't make sense because you'd have to do it within just a few days of the alleged assault. So they wouldn't keep coming back and doing more, right?
No.
Right.
Because
that doesn't make sense.
No. It does because there's, well, I think you're kind of right, actually, maybe. But like, I think that there's this window in which they think stuff might have happened, right? And if there was another
72
allegation,
hours, which is probably if it's 72 hours, is that right, Haiti? If it's 72 hours, then that would mean that that's probably where the fourth came from, is to substantiate.
Yeah,
that
I think
evidence.
it's 7. I think it's 72 hours. Yeah.
Look, if there's an allegation and they do a rape kit swab or whatever it is, and they don't find anything, and then 2 weeks later they get another allegation, they don't just say, "Oh, we already did one, so we're not doing one." They're probably
sure. No, it wasn't. But that's not the way that things played out.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I don't think.
Yeah, that's not the way that things played out. And also,
I think it was more like, yeah, go on. It was probably more like the last time would be my guess.
Right.
You know, because what are you gonna make the allegation, call the cops, and then do it again? I mean, it's more likely. Let's say it happened. I'm not saying it did. I'm just playing it out. That it's like this has been happening over this period of time, and come now and do a rape kit. You know, I would imagine that's how it went down.
That's pretty accurate. And I mean, he submitted everything. He submitted DNA. He did all the things he was supposed to do. He hasn't withheld anything.
Right.
Usually guilty people don't do that. They're advised by their lawyers not to do that. So I mean,
I noticed that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, complete your thought. I'm sorry.
No, because I was gonna just kind of put a bow on everything and then dip out. So go ahead.
I noticed that Khalil in the YouTube chat, there's a screenshot someone posted. It says that this is the product of religious persecution, is how he put it. What does that mean?
It means that it is our belief and the belief of our lawyer that this is all as a result of his ex-wife's disdain for the religion. She's already previously tried to press charges saying that he's an extremist and this, that, the other. He's not. I mean, you guys see him from this perspective, right? I sleep next to the guy, and the thing is,
somebody probably slept next to Osama bin Laden.
I mean, if that's how you want to discredit what I'm about to say, that's fine. But the thing is there's always going to be three sides of the story, and that's the truth, one side and the other side. So, I would just, again, to put a little bow on it, hope that you would remain skeptical, hope that you would follow the judicial system of the United States, and he's innocent until proven guilty. I would hope that you wouldn't drag his name through the mud, and I would hope that you would crop out the address where my kids live on that screenshot, if you would.
I would if I posted anything. I can't control other people. These oftentimes aren't even my rooms, so I'm not even like the person who's in charge or anything like that. So
is this the first allegation of this sort that he's had?
As far as I'm aware.
And can I just ask, you said that she tried to press charges against him because he's an charges that he's an extremist? What was the violation?
She had tried to press charges of domestic violence because...
Oh, domestic violence. Okay.
Yeah, because they were in a disagreement, and this is all verifiable, public record, feel free. I guess they were in a disagreement, and she said, well, you don't even care about your kids. He got frustrated and threw a bowl of chili. The chili got on her. She didn't get hit at all, and then filed those charges.
And they were dismissed?
Yes. Well,
okay.
She had originally requested 5 years for her daughter, and their son. Her daughter has the 5, because Khalil didn't argue that at all. And then she has 1 year, and then their son, he does have visitation with his son.
So it wasn't dismissed.
It was, there is a possibility of a potential threat of violence. That is what the judge said. Possibility of a potential. Like, nothing was substantiated.
Well, just to be clear, John Lee notified the entire room that there's been a history of sexual assault allegations alleged against Khalil. He actually used this idea to forward the hypothesis that because of these previous allegations, the ex-wife would see it as more likely being believable. So you might want to investigate that because skepticism is going to work both ways, right? It's my job.
Yeah.
It's my job to hear what you have to say. It's my job to be skeptical. Now, previous to this, I've only heard one side of the story. Now I'm starting to hear another side of the story. It's not quite both sides because it's all kind of all secondhand still, but whatever. I'm hearing more, which is good. But you in particular are in a very unique situation because This is an allegation that concerns children, right? And it's a heinous allegation about children. So you, more than anybody, needs to be at least skeptical about all the allegations that are being made. You above anyone. You know what's the hard part though is that you, out of anyone, are the most susceptible to not being skeptical and being extremely biased in the situation. I'm not saying that the guy did it. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm just saying that you have a monumental task in front of you, right?
Should probably err on the side of caution. How's that?
Well, I think that's probably a milder form of what I would think, but you have children involved, right? This is not
Absolutely.
a
And if I had
minor.
if I had any kind of suspicion or concern that they were in any kind of danger, I wouldn't have married Khalil. And if my mother, who also lives with us, had any suspicion or any concern, he would not live with us.
Right, but
If I'm just saying, it's not just, I love this man, but before I loved him, I went through this.
gotcha. And I understand
So
that. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, you're talking about feels, and feels hit hard, and they drive hard, right? But during this, you're gonna have to look at facts, right? Just try to do your best. You can only do your best.
absolutely, yeah.
But you are gonna have to try. You're gonna have to try. If it was just
One
you,
more thing, people.
if it was just you and you didn't, and there weren't kids involved, and your kids and his kids, whoever, I don't even know how many kids are involved. Sounds like a lot, but it was just you. If you're wrong, well, you get burned. Well, you know what? That's on you. But it's not the situation. So just keep it in mind, please. I'm begging you. I'm begging you, please.
Another thing people are confused about. Are you two legally married, or is he still legally married to her? I understand y'all
We
went through
are
the ceremony.
Islamically married. He is still legally married to her. We had wanted to process that divorce sooner, but because the investigation was ongoing, we were trying to save for this first, if that makes sense.
Do you ever wonder why he makes himself such a big presence online and lives a different life? You know, there's the private life and there's his online presence, and then you're asking us to trust you. Like, I don't even know any of these details, but I find it like obviously strange. A lot of this stuff is coming out right now.
What do you mean coming out right now? Like, I understand your skepticism. That's not what I'm asking. But like, is there something about this specific point in time that makes you extra skeptical, I guess? Can you explain your question more if you don't mind?
He acts like he's a moral arbiter online of different things in life, of Muslim faith and different areas like that. And I have no issues with people that need grace or have done things previously, but you know, the way
Well,
he
let's stay
acts
away from the
online.
hypocrisy card. This is just, let's not do that.
Well, I'm not wondering about the hypocrisy. I'm actually just wondering, like, this is all new to me. Like, I came back after a week of not being on here. My question, I guess, about this whole thing is like, do you have any concerns at all that, you know,
That what?
to have a court case drawn to you, you actually have to prove to a judge that you have a reason to accuse somebody of these things. So, like,
You already
even
said
if he's
no.
innocent,
Look,
there
she already
isn't.
said no. She has absolutely no part of her thinks that this is true. Do you understand? Is that correct, Chloe?
That's correct. No part of
Okay,
me
so
thinks that it's
do
true.
you,
However, just to speak to the legal issue of it, since that's what was asked, in our state where we live, the testimony of a victim is enough in and of itself to have charges pressed. There doesn't have to be any other substantiation of claim besides the claim itself, and potentially sometimes a corroborating witness. Now, my friend who is a recorder for a local county, who also was a junior judge and has practiced law and taught law at a local university for years, I brought this before him, and we brought, what the allegations were, excuse me, some of the history of the case, and also, you know, where things are standing, you know, with us and what we think. And according to this individual, the more that we shared, he was like, oh, you have an extraordinarily defensible case. So it's, you know, I'm hoping it doesn't have to go to trial, but if it does, I mean, it is what it is. But the fact is that we're there. I mean, hold on one second. I need to gather my thoughts. So yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is that there's a verifiable motive behind what she's doing. And I want to just make it clear that I'm not just accepting the word of my husband on blind faith. Whether you agree that we're married or not, I really don't give a shit. Because pagans have hand fasting, so I'm really not trying to hear any of that. The fact of the matter is it's not just I took his word. Part of the courting process in finding a spouse in Islam is that you run them through the ringer. Now, of course, your skepticism will be that it was not a lot of amount of time. That's fine.
What was the amount of time that y'all courted?
That we knew each other, or that we were actively intending to get married?
I guess from when you expressed romantic concern to like moving in and being together.
1 week. Like I said, you may remain skeptical about the amount of time. That's fine. But the fact of the matter is that, so we started talking on a Monday, expressing romantic interest. By Wednesday, at our first face-to-face meeting, he literally laid it out on the table. And for me, it's like, if someone's gonna hide, if someone's like, guilty people don't just throw it all out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, they like to kind of keep it hidden. So the fact that he was immediately transparent with me, with all of the allegations, all of the facts and everything, knowing full well that I could walk away, and still presented all of that to me off the jump. Like, first time we're meeting in person, face to face, lets me know this off the jump. Like, as unsettling as hearing that those kind of allegations were made was to me, because it was quite unsettling, the level of transparency that he gave from the beginning with me was like, oh, well, if he was guilty, he wouldn't have done that, you know? So I don't know if that answers your question. Does that answer your question, Philip?
Wouldn't that be the move, though, if he wanted to convince you? Right?
What, can you explain what you mean, please?
Well, your thought process there, wouldn't it work both ways? That he's acting this way to make me think that he's innocent?
Well, why wouldn't he just kept it hidden and pretended like nothing was wrong with him? Wouldn't a narcissist?
Well, because if he's thinking ahead, he's realizing that you'll find out eventually. So, I mean, he couldn't have kept it a secret forever.
Well, he probably could have, because the only reason I knew anything is because A, he told me, and then B, he included me in the conversation with.
No, but it's come out now, right?
Well, and they came to your house looking for him, right? So that would have happened.
I slept through it, actually. The first time.
Yeah, they don't just like stop coming to your house though.
No, they don't. Actually, they've pulled me over for some bogus like lane change thing, and he took my license and insurance and said, "Oh, such and such address. Who all lives there?" I said, "I don't need to answer that."
Wow.
No. Yeah. So I've been. I mean,
you having cop problems? What's going on? What did I walk into?
No, hold on a sec. Please don't come in too hot here. This is sensitive.
Oh, okay.
So So, John Lee was saying that Khalil quit his job like 10 days ago
He
or
did not quit
something.
his job. No, he still has his job.
So John Lee was wrong about that.
I suppose if that's who said that, then yes, they were
Yep.
wrong. He still
Yep.
has his job. And his boss is aware.
Okay.
And his boss has been aware through the entire process.
You know what? I think I actually do appreciate you coming in here and answering some questions, because there's a lot of speculation that happens, and
Well, there's still going to be speculation, Tom, and that's the thing. You know, like, I mean, you said it yourself. I could immediately be discredited because I love this man.
no, no,
But the
no,
fact of the
no, no,
matter
no, no,
is,
no, no. I didn't say discredited. I didn't say that.
well,
I didn't say
no,
any of
but I
that.
mean, but you know, I could, it could be arguable that I would have bias, right? Okay, let's phrase it that way.
You have the what I
Um,
said is that in this particular situation, your relations to him, you have the strongest bias to overcome if you're trying to just find truth and not your truth. That's what I said.
and absolutely, you would be right. And I mean, here's the thing: if it was a situation like what's his face, his name starts with a S.
Smokey?
Smokey.
Yeah. If it was a situation like that where we had, you know, like evidence from the internet and, you know, videography or photography or anything like that, it would be a whole different story, right? But none of that exists at all.
Yeah.
I mean, they went through this man's computer for 6 months and didn't find jack.
Did they tell you they didn't find Jack?
They went through his phone and his computer. Um, I mean,
Are
they
you
swapped
saying,
his DNA. I mean,
just to be clear, it's nothing really. Look, this isn't a gotcha or anything. I'm just asking for. I want to have the facts. That's all I care about. All I care about. I just wanted to know, when you say they didn't find Jack, does that mean they took the computer?
as far as,
Just
yeah,
let me,
they
Chloe.
took the
Just let me
computer.
finish. Let me finish, please.
Sorry.
I've been so respectful to you. Does that just mean that they took the computer, they took the phone, and then you didn't hear anything from them about what they found or did not find, so therefore they didn't find Jack? Is that what you mean by that?
So, the way that this works, as far as my understanding goes, where would be if they were to have found something on his phone, which he received back almost immediately, they would have kept it as evidence. So it tracks that if evidence is kept when when claims are substantiated via evidence, but his phone was returned to him, it would stand that his phone being returned to him would
Okay.
implicate that he did not
So
have
the way that
evidence
you
on
answered
it.
that leads me to the next question. Did he get his computer back yet?
It's available for pickup. I just haven't had a chance to go out that way and grab it.
It's
But it
available
also,
for
even if, sorry, go ahead.
it's available for pickup.
Yeah, so like the detectives, like they have it and they're done with it. I can go get it. I just haven't gotten to go get it yet.
But it also makes sense that if there, just because there isn't evidence of it on the phone or the computer, doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Well, sure,
How did
but
you
you would
find
think
out that
it
it's
would.
available for pickup?
I have the lawyer's personal number, and she let me know.
The lawyer let you
So
know.
was there
Hold
a
on.
warrant for the computer?
No, hold on a second. Your current lawyer, who's your lawyer about this current situation, let you know about a computer that's available for pickup from 6
Okay,
months
so let me
ago
back
from a
up about the
completely
lawyer.
unrelated case?
So yeah, so let me just explain like the progression of our lawyers. So with the original protection order, she was retained for that. She was retained for that hearing. When the claims were made, she was retained again as a pre-arrest lawyer. And then now, and we retained her for that purpose. Now there is a new purpose, a charge, and she needs to be retained for that. So it has been the same lawyer throughout, but there have been 3 separate occasions on which we have retained her now. Well, 3 now that we have retained her services. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. So it's the same continuity between lawyers. The other thing that's weird is you said that the lawyer told you that the computer is available for pickup for you to go get. Why would the police department, whoever it is, give you his computer?
Well, I mean, obviously it's available for him to pick up. I'm just
Oh, okay. So that's where the confusion.
the one who's out and about.
Because you said I can go pick it up. I just haven't gone.
Well, and I can. Just
You
I have
can pick it
permission
up
to do so.
But you're not legally married, though.
Yeah, we're pretty sure that we'll take that with a grain of salt for a minute, but I'm pretty sure the lawyer has said that they were done with the computer. It's available for pickup. I think we were under the assumption that either one of us could pick it up.
I would
but
be
at this
very
present point in time, it
surprised
would be
if they're
me.
going to hand over evidence and a computer to someone who has no legal affiliation with another person.
Sure, but if it was evidence, they wouldn't be handing anything over. So it's actually not considered evidence.
Okay. Well, you'll know when you get it back.
Yeah, I guess.
Anyways, does anybody have any final questions? Because I don't want to do too much.
I missed. I would like to know who the supposed victim is here. I'm still not sure of the relationship.
His ex-wife's daughter, so his former stepdaughter.
Anyone else? Questions?
Kids with him? Like, you have kids? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, she has kids.
Yeah,
Is he coming back on Clubhouse
one at a
or no?
time, please. I'm having trouble following the question.
No, it's
Yeah,
fine.
one at a time, guys. One at a
You're
time.
not at any. This doesn't put any concern between, like, how you feel. But I wasn't here in the beginning, so I don't know if anybody asked about this. Are you concerned about him interacting with your kids at all over this, or are you just?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's what I was saying earlier about, the way that Khalil debates and argues here is very different than the family man that he is at home. He, for example, recently, he used to ice skate. I used to play field hockey. And so we had just recently bought ice hockey skates for all of the kids. And it was just something he was so excited about. Everybody was smiling and happy and laughing. Like my older 2 are 9 and 7. And they had some questions. They're like, Mom, we have boy questions, but we don't want to ask you. So what I did was, they said, can we talk to Dad about it? Which they called him Dad on their own volition, by the way, because that's what he is to them. And I was like, that's fine. But I just asked Khalil if he would, call me. I'll mute myself so I can listen in to hear the conversation. So I've heard the whole conversation, where it's explained, very sterile, very logically, and, him reinforcing what's private is private. We don't let anyone touch our privates. That's not okay. If anyone ever touches your privates, tell mommy, tell me, tell your counselor. And I also make it a practice because of my ex-husbands being rather, what's the word I'm looking for? Dickheads. I've always made it a point to make sure that there are several mandated reporters around my children at all times to give myself a paper trail of a safety net for each and every one of my children. Okay. So they have teachers at school. I have a very intense, a very personal relationship with the preschool director, with the administrator, the founder. I have the kids' principals and teachers, all their text messages in my phone. My kids, my older 3, all have their own counselors that I'm in direct contact with, at least on a monthly, if not weekly basis. And that's because I and for years, I've been divorced from my first husband for over 7 years. For years, I have made it a point to make sure they're safe and cover my ass. So if something ever were to happen, I don't believe Khalil would do that, but if something ever were to happen, I have got an entire community of mandated reporters surrounding my children so that even if they didn't feel safe to tell mom,
Right.
there are people in
that
their
makes
life.
sense. You have kids too.
Yeah.
You always want other adults that they trust, 100% besides you. And you have to instill that because they don't know that. You have to tell them that. But I'm sorry, is it Chloe or Chloe? Like, how do you?
Chloe.
It's Chloe. Chloe. Okay. So I'm just
Sorry,
wondering,
yeah.
are you skeptical of the charges having any merit at all behind them?
She has
When
0%.
he first told me, I kind of answered this already.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't
first,
clear. I
That's the only
apologize.
reason.
That's okay. I'll just repeat it quickly. When it was the first time we met in person, when we were interested in each other for a marriage relationship, he laid it out, laid all of it out. This is what I've got going on. This is all of it, and was very forthright about it. And I
And it being him doing these things, or that these charges exist.
She told us that with regards to the charges,
the allegations were made.
Okay. So he's making you aware that there are allegations out there. Not that he didn't come clean about this to you in any way. You're saying?
Well, there's nothing to come clean about. He has made his innocence very well established.
Look, the answer to your question is simple, Squishy. She thinks that she is 100% confident that this is all false.
He's innocent. Yeah.
You're not willing to discuss the reasons for that, or like you're just convinced because he told you so, or because you saw hard evidence that says otherwise?
I think.
Well, right. So you judge people by their behaviors, right? You judge people by their behaviors, right?
Most of these questions can we look? Hold on a second. All that's going to happen now is a lot of people that weren't here are going to ask the same questions, and it's going to escalate, and it's going to escalate, and it's going to escalate, and then we're never going to ever talk to you again, right? Because you're going to get pissed.
I don't think we should badger anymore. Honestly.
So, with regards
Tom,
to
can I just answer that last one, if that's okay? Just to kind of add some more meat to that response, if that's okay. So, to me, the greatest form of apology is change behavior, and the way that people interact, like words don't mean shit. We find behaviors to be a more substantial evidence, in my opinion, the way that I look at people. You can tell me you're a nice Christian lady all day, but if you're constantly telling me I'm going to hell, I'm not going to think you're a nice lady, right? So just as an example. So when we were in our process, he had said to me, if I ever put my hands on you in a way that you do not consent to, divorce me immediately and call the cops. Okay, no problem. Like, he made it very clear that, this is not something that he respected me enough, that he did not, you know what I'm saying? Like that this was never permissible, right? And then when he was having that conversation with my kids while I was listening in, one of the things he actually said was, it doesn't matter who touches you. I would never do that, but if it were me or if it were anybody, you always go tell your mommy or another grown-up you trust. Like, why would someone say that if that's something that they were going to do if they weren't wanting to get caught? Like, that's weird, right?
You want me to answer honestly, or?
I mean, you can have your opinion.
The answer to that question is easy. There's another answer to that question, and it's very obvious. It's that he's overcompensating.
So
typically people that
could
do stuff like that put themselves in positions of trust, and everything you're saying so far makes me feel like he is trying to put himself in a position of trust. And the reason they want to put themselves in a position of trust is because then the person that, I'm not saying anything that's new, like this isn't my opinion.
Sure. So how would you distinguish that from a genuine person?
Well, I mean,
what would be those key factors, if you don't mind?
We're going to get into a deep conversation here about some of this stuff, but I think a lot of it is that it's very hard to know what a genuine person is over a short period of time. And I would typically say a short period of time is like literally less than a year. And unfortunately for you, and I'm not trying to be rude, but unfortunately for you, you will disagree with me that your courtship with him was a short period of time in the sense of enough to know enough about somebody, but like everybody in this room probably knows that they can keep an act up for a short period of time, and then as time goes on, as you date somebody or as you get to know them, certain things happen, like they're put in hard situations in front of you, and you see how they respond to those hard situations, and you see the behavior change in those small situations, and you make accordingly basically how they're going to respond, later on down the line. And when it comes to like to stepkids and stepchildren, I really don't have a straight up answer on that stuff. I don't have stepkids, so it's a lot different. But I
Sure.
mean, there's some judgments that you can make, and so when people hear what you're saying, is what they're hearing you actually say is that he is putting himself in a position of trust.
Ken, if I can just
Okay, and that's fine. But the thing is what you just said was that people prove their genuineness to you over time by behaviors. And if there's anything that I can say, it's that his response to this entire thing is not consistent with what a narcissist or an abuser would do. It's consistent with a man who's like, okay, I have to go through this process. I know what the truth
is he still
and
on
I
the
know
run
it's
from the
not.
law? Did he get arrested? Hold
I'm
up a
sorry,
second.
I don't understand the question.
You can't say that like he's doing everything he can to go along with the process if he hasn't turned himself in.
Sure. So there's this. So he's never been on the run from the law. I'll just reiterate what I said earlier to Tom when he asked the question that was similar. Is that we do have this pre-arrest lawyer that I mentioned, and we are doing everything in the exact way as she has advised us. And that is where I will leave that.
Yeah, pre-arrest lawyers
don't
will
let 'em
advise
near
you
your
on how
fucking
to
kids.
pre-arrest lawyers will advise you on how to evade being arrested. That's true.
No, that's not what they're for. They're for, so for example, one option would have been to turn himself in on Friday, sure, and then sit in jail all weekend for a crime that he did not commit, serve time that he did not earn, right? And then get arraigned Tuesday morning. The other option would have been to allow his lawyer, who has a personal relationship with the prosecutor, to arrange a set time by which he can come in, get arraigned immediately, and then be put on bond so that he doesn't have to spend time in jail for a crime he didn't commit.
Yeah, evade arrest.
So that doesn't mean that somebody's on the run. It means that they're following the advice of their lawyer. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those two things
okay.
What?
Evading arrest.
Yeah, they could both be true, right?
Right.
Wait, hold on. Has no one said to her, has no one said to you, Chloe, to keep him away from your kids?
Like, yeah, it's been done a million times, Daniel. A million times.
Like, period. Okay.
No, not myself, not my mom, not his mom, not his boss, not anyone at the masjid. No one who's had any consistent interaction with my husband has had any concern. My best friends. I already answered that question.
No, I'm saying,
have you had any
go ahead and summarize that?
Social workers or CPS or anyone talk to you?
No, I'm not a prevalent part of the case, so I don't know why they would come and talk to me.
Sounds like
I don't
the
know
ex-wife
if
may
there's
have
some
had a
kind
thing or
of
two to say.
process. What if someone's accused of something? They might check the home. I don't know. I would
Yeah, if
imagine
he's
that might be.
there, there's children there. CPS
They would have, in order for CPS to be invited to my home, somebody would have to report something. And being as I have had now police come to my house and see the swing set out back, if they had concerns for my children, CPS would have already been called. I would have already had a letter on my front porch, and I would have already had an arrangement for them to be here. So again, my children are in front of multiple mandated reporters. I have spoken with a woman from the daycare, and my kids have therapy this week, and I'm talking to their therapist. So, I mean, I don't really know what else anybody would want from me, aside from displacing my family in one way or another. And I don't really feel the need to do that unless claims are substantiated. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because I keep a very watchful eye over my kids. I'm a helicopter mom. So it's like,
Okay, so the
Like,
answer
and
is she cares about
we've
her
always,
kids.
I mean, we've had conversations about consent. In fact, I personally am vehemently against circumcision because I believe that consent begins at birth, and that if we are to teach our men how to give consent to our women, then we have absolutely no right.
Let their kid hang out with John Wayne Gacy.
Okay, does anyone have another question, or are we done?
Yeah, so I need to clear something
So I
else up.
guess the
John
way
Lee
that
said,
this is kind of like playing out is the group here and I have two different standpoints. My standpoint is that he is innocent until proven guilty. Your standpoint is that he is guilty and proven innocent until
No,
proven
just
innocent.
because that guy
My
said something snide, don't assume that he's not.
I just have
like,
I operate off a
he doesn't
principle.
represent. He doesn't represent
I
everyone
operate
here.
I operate off a principle that if I'm a parent, anyone that's around my kids is not going to have charges.
Can we get off the you should
about,
fucking care about your kids thing? She cares about her kids.
Yeah, we all know
John
you care
Lee,
about your kids, but what you're going through is like a sad situation, no doubt. Like, you know, like you say that your kids look up to him. Like this is, yeah, it's tragic.
Can we get off this? Delana, what was your question?
And John,
yeah,
you know
so
what?
John Lee,
let me ask you, John, if your wife was accused of something like this, and you or your partner, whoever, and you knew this person, now I'm obviously you have more time with this person, so I'll acknowledge that fallacy. Would you honestly say that you would kick her out of the house?
I'd say I would kick her out of the house. No.
Okay.
I would force a wedge between her and our children.
Okay, Delano.
Yeah, they're just checking to see if John is telling the truth or if he's talking out of his ass. It's just a truth check, and it really has nothing to do with anything else.
I'll just say this. My husband is a combat veteran who has not been in trouble with the law. He served his country in Kandahar, checking for IEDs for the patrol around the city and having bullets whiz past his head. So,
are you sure he wasn't in a lawsuit about hosting some illegal like money laundering site about betting?
Anything isn't a violation of HIPAA.
Violating HIPAA.
So
HIPAA is about the kind of information doctors can share.
So my only question, and this is more just the sense of like social media and so on and so forth, like, I mean, if this was going on in my own life and you're different than me, I wouldn't be on Clubhouse talking about my spouse or even trying to defend them just because I feel like it's not real life. Like, I mean, because what's going on in real life has to be 10 times harder than anything that's going on in Clubhouse. But I guess my question is like, what purpose?
Why am I on Clubhouse?
Yeah, like why is Clubhouse like such a big thing in you and your husband's life? I guess like that you're even willing to come on here and defend him and on Clubhouse of all things, you know. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to understand.
No, sure. I guess I think that's a fair question. So I didn't come on here to necessarily defend him. What I came on here to do was to initially, and Haiti and Tom can attest to this, is to ask that the screenshots that are going around that contain my personal address to be cropped for the safety of my children. For those of you who are concerned about my children, that's the initial reason that I wanted to come up. I was very hesitant to come up. I was offered to come up last night. I did not. I was curious what was being said about my husband, because at the end of the day, when this gets proven to be false, you know, it's after the evidence comes out, like Tom pointed out, we can't say it's defamation of character yet because it hasn't been substantiated one way or the other. But when it is substantiated that he is not guilty, then it is defamation of character. And I would just like, for me, it's like there's a way to have a conversation about things like this without like, and you can think he's guilty or you cannot. I mean, that's between you and your subconscious, your conscious, your God, whatever the hell ever it is you have. But at the end of the day, it was like, and honestly, Tom and I have never really had a good conversation, but like he came at me with respect, and I do question the intention of every person on this stage and every person in this room. I don't trust the intention, because I know that there is a great deal of disdain for Khalil. But like at the end of the day, I think I just kind of wanted to personify or give some humanity to the situation that like we are real people who really do live in this house at that address, who really do have kids who play in the backyard who really don't want that information on the internet.
Yeah, I totally get it. I guess I just, I just feel like if social media has done one thing to your guys' life, it seems like it hasn't been a positive at all, because now you guys have a whole bunch of people actually looking to see what happens and more evidence that comes out. And I kind of just would even wonder, like, at this point, like, why you'd ever come back to social media, even if he's proven innocent.
Sure. And I don't know if you were here, Philip, for when I was discussing the fact that the way that the indictment was scanned in would mean that it had to be a hard copy, which would mean that it would have had to come directly from the hands of his ex-wife. While it is public record, the medium through which it was uploaded onto the internet and then spread around would have had to come from that source, because as the family or the home of the defendant, we don't even have that paper. The only other person that would have that paper is the what's the word? Not defendant, the plaintiff,
the court.
Right?
The court would have that submitted paper. It's on the court. It's if you go to the website, the court website has images of this paperwork.
Well, maybe it's a grand jury document. So grand jury is like the one thing in the court system that's not like really open to purview.
It's filed in the court system. That's all you need to know. Also, Chloe, you got to be careful using defamation and libel. Those are saying something is false. So.
Well, yeah. Also, defamation only really can occur when you actually, if you're a public figure, which this is gonna get really interesting. When you have a ton of thousands of followers and you host tons of rooms, it's not hard to say that you're a public figure at that point. And defamation is a lot harder to prove.
You also have to prove that the person who's saying the bad thing knows that the bad thing they're saying is false, which is really hard to prove.
I think it has to impact you materially in some way too. So you have to have some some actual tangible damages to point to.
Well, he's not currently. He still has his job, but he's not currently working. So we have loss of wages. We also will have loss of wages on his YouTube channel, his Patreon. So there's your material.
Well, that's just because he's not making content. It's not that he's making content and that content's being impacted by the case. He's just not making content.
And why is he not able to make content, ma'am?
Do you think that her accusations make him unable to make...
No, please answer that question. Please answer that question. Why is he not making content? Can you give me an answer to that, please?
Because he's not?
Because he's not able to, because of the charges pressed against him. Thank you.
I don't see how that's unable
Haiti
to...
and Tom, I have taken up all of the mental real estate I can here today, because I'm starting to get frustrated and irritable.
Yeah, we don't want this. We don't want this.
Yeah, I appreciate people asking questions. I appreciate the space to answer them and the respect given to me to answer them. At the end of the day, you will think what you think. There's nothing I can do to control that. You may think that I'm biased. You may think that I'm a fucking idiot. You may feel sorry for me. I don't really care. If you in any way support Khalil, I do have links in my bio. If you don't, that's fine. Again, my main and primary ask was to figure out what was being said, and most importantly, to get my children's safety in order. So I appreciate the space to do that. Tom and Haiti, you've been wonderful. Delano, thanks everybody for your questions. And I, like Philip has suggested, am going to go ahead and get off social media.
Okay. Thanks, Chloe. I'm sorry this is happening to you.
Thank you. Thank you a lot.